Hello, everyone. I'm Aishwarya.
Hi, and I'm Monica. Welcome to Conscious Bangalore and Conscious Design Kalpa's event. Today, it's called Looking Through the Urban Glass. And in this event, we talk to filmmakers. We look at films that they've shared with us. And today we have with us Nili Portugali. Let me introduce you to Nili just a little bit. So Nili is actually a practicing architect, a senior lecturer, a researcher, published author, and a film director. Her multidisciplinary work, both in practice and theory, is closely connected to the holistic phenomenological school of thought. She is the 7th generation descendant of a family living in the Holy Kabbalah city of Safat, Israel, since the early 19th century. Welcome, Nili.
Welcome. Okay, great. So yeah, hello to everybody, and thanks for coming to this event. I hope you all watched the film before and enjoyed it. If not, you can get the open link until the end of the festival days from Maria. My love for India started many years ago, and I'm very happy, even virtually, to be there again. Before I say a few words on the film, I would really like to thank Aishwarya, the director of the Conscious Design Development, and Maria for their many efforts for this event to happen. I came to create my film not from the film industry, but from the world of architecture, which is part of the arts world in general. And I always thought also that architecture should be taught in art schools and not in a technological institute, though I was teaching in both. As Maria said, I'm a practicing architect. I live in Tel Aviv. And I was a senior lecturer in Bezalel Academy for Art and Design in Jerusalem and at the Technion Institute of Technology in Haifa. And in the early 80s, I did selected postgraduate studies in UC Berkeley in architecture and Buddhism. And as well, research work with Professor Christopher Alexander at his Center for Environmental Structure in Berkeley. And since then, I would say my main focus was really implementing into practice the holistic phenomenological approach to architecture in the actual buildings I designed in my studio in Israel. So the film is in fact the third of a trilogy, I would say, following the buildings I designed and the published books that I wrote. And as you saw, point of view, which derived obviously from this place. But moreover, from my present scientific point of view, I understood that what I have experienced unconsciously as a child in Sfat is not a subjective phenomena due only to my intimate relationship to the place, but rather a universal and objective one. And now I will be very happy, to answer any question that you have after you have watched the film.
Of course, Nili. It was a splendid experience to watch it in advance and prepare for this interview. And one of the things that actually stood out was exactly what you mentioned, the phenomenological aspect of architecture, and especially how certain places like Safat actually have that character, the character that sort of communicates a universal connectedness and a sense of timelessness that sort of and that particular character that you brought forth in your documentary, it very obviously calls out to the person space continuum, which is what the theme of this year's festival is. So we'd like to know a little more about how you made those montages of different places apart from Safat come into your documentary and sort of convey that universal, holistic, and connectedness aspect of the architecture that is in Safat itself?
Well, you see, as I said, as a child, you are like a sponge. You really, get all kind of experiences without really being conscious, or of course not being scientifically aware about it. And when I go to Berkeley, to work with Chris Alexander, he really, I would say, put on the table in a very scientific and clear way that what we emotionally experience in a place really is generated by very specific patterns of space. I mean, so his hypothesis was that all these places that we really feel at home and we feel connected to emotionally, not just for 1 minute, but really, I would say, yeah, these timeless places, behind all of these are very specific patterns of space that we can actually define. And this is a long, everyone who's interested in this thema could also, look at Alexander's work and books and my book, where I really explained in details, this whole school of thought and how it was implemented in buildings. But, what was interesting is that, as they did a field study, they realized that behind all these places, regardless really the time or the culture or tradition. I mean, you can, as I showed in the film, I mean, it can happen in an alley in Sfat, it can happen this kind of emotional experience and, and livelihood, I don't know, feeling a place which is lively in Venice or in Greece or in India. And because behind all these places which might look different, there is a sort of superstructure or underlying structure, which are the patterns which are common to all of them. And they really are the ones which are responsible for the feeling of the place. So, so it's like a circle. And then I said, wow, I mean, all of these patterns you can find in Sfat as well, of course, anywhere. Yeah. So I hope I did answer a bit your question.
Yeah, in so many ways, because in a sense, science also looks at specific questions and tries to deduce generalities from it, which can be universal. And the kind of phenomena that you are talking about, that architecture facilitates, the one of unity, universality, and a sense of inherent beauty that a place can have, or as Christian Norbert Schulz talks about, genius loci of a place, which is something that is underlying in all these great places around the world, and we can just feel it when we enter that place. It's fascinating, and it definitely comes through in your documentary. Yeah.
Yes, right. Yeah, well, so it's interesting. I mean, it's important because, I mean, if we would recognize beauty or, good feeling of a place just, belonging to the past, we wouldn't have any lesson, for the future. But the fact that really, I mean, if we apply, these kind of patterns that we do recognize, maybe more, unfortunately, in traditional architecture, but we apply them, to modern architecture, I do think, I'm absolutely sure that you can gain and have the same, good feeling of a place. It's just a matter of, doing the right thing. That's it. So it's not that, the past has a monopoly, on beauty or good feeling, not at all, which is sometimes people think about it, they said, yeah, well, but beauty. So, and once they think about it that, you know, beauty is something which belongs to the past, there is not even a discussion. Also, they think that beauty is a subjective matter. You think like this, I think like that, so there is no point of discussing this issue. But Chris Alexander, I think, made it very clear that it is something to discuss about, and it can be, you know, implemented and applied to things that we are doing today, and hopefully having, you know, a better architecture in any level of scale. You know, it's a house, it's a neighborhood, it's a street, it's a city, and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, and this makes me also wonder whether icons or iconic buildings are more or less things that are frozen in time. They respond to the zeitgeist or the ethos of a particular time, right? Whereas the kind of ideas that you are talking about in terms of even Alexander's work on patterns, they seem more like things that are continuous, or the way a person or a community connects to nature and the or the man-made surroundings and environments naturally, and there is a certain level of continuity in it which makes it timeless and which makes it, well, resistant to sort of erosion in some way or the other, which is dramatically different from, say, the kind of architecture that came out of modernity, right, which was rootless, very time specific, very ethos specific, and iconic. And I think you explicitly even mentioned that in your documentary, which is something that I found very powerful.
Yeah, right. You're right. Yeah, this. Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, because, you know, I mean, um, the iconic architecture, you know, it's like it's a momentary thing. You know, I mean, you can be very impressed by it, but it's not a place that you would like. I mean, if you think, for instance, you know, I always told my students, you know, if I have a guest, yeah, from abroad coming to Israel, where would I take him? I would never take him to this, you know, iconic thing. I would always take him again and again to all these places that you want to go again and again, you know? And this basically, I mean, it's like in anything. I mean, the places that you want to go again and again, or the films that you want to see, or the books that you want to read, or anything, are the one which really um, touches you emotionally. I mean, absolutely. I mean, and you know, when I go to Europe, and I've been, you know, in Paris, in Rome, in everywhere, you know, many times, I always go to the same places. And if I ask myself, what are these places? You know, these are really the timeless places that, you know, that we want to go again and again. Okay, I did go to Center Pompidou because, you know, as an architect, you have to see all of this. And I think it's important also to look at the other things. I'm not saying that you always have to go to, you know, to one place. It's important even for comparing the two. But you know, but you go there once, enough. You know, you don't want. But then to the other places, you know, to Place Vosges in Paris, I can go, you know, every day because I mean it's amazing. So yeah, so you're right. That's the way I think. I mean, it's like, you know, it's really like rules of nature. You know, it's as you said. I mean, you know, it's basically we are part of nature, and the rules which governs, you know, the environment are, you know, maybe they, you know, they came from the same place, like the rules of nature. What really, you know, I don't know. It's also like rules of thumb, you know. It's not something really that we invent, you know. It's something which really somehow printed in our mind from the outset, you know, maybe from the time we were born, and that's it. Yeah.
Thank you, Nili. For me, I think I want to bring out this point from when I watched the film, that what stuck to me was the idea or the representation of memory and the connection to space. So especially the way that you connected that with the little character and how she walked through the alley, she looked at a balcony and she remembered a lot of things. That was really beautiful, especially when she entered and then exited as well. So it's something that I sort of really started connecting to. And then I started thinking, oh, in Bangalore, I walk through the street markets, and I started noticing patterns after watching your film. Could you sort of tell me a little bit more about that and how that sort of affects or how that has a role to play in when you design a place, or even how people feel um, you know when they connect to a place?
I'm not sure that I understood the question. I'm sorry. So if you can.
Yeah, my question is that what kind of role does memory play when you think about something spatially?
Yeah, I don't think that memory is played in my case in a very conscious way. I think it really became part of my toolbox or inventory subconsciously. But as I said, I don't think it's a subjective thing, I mean, I don't think that it's only because, of course, I have these great memories of the place of my grandmother and all of this. I think it's much more deeper than that. I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe that was the place that first I somehow learned what a place should feel. But then I don't think it's obviously it's not a replica. I mean, if I'm doing now a project, I'm not trying to imitate what I have in memories or stuff like that, because now I'm I know I'm not more conscious about the process and what is behind it and all of that. But it's interesting because when I thought on the film, the first thing that actually, you see, I was sure that there will be in the film a substantial connection between my memories as a child from Sfat and my present scientific, I would say, architecture point of view. But when I started to write, the script, or whatever you call it, I said, okay, I want in a very free way to write my memories of places, memories of activities, the way that my grandmother was whitewashing and whatever came to my mind, I wrote down. And I think whatever comes to your mind, even from a place that you were, is the thing. I mean, is the thing that had the most impact on you emotionally, and you remember it. I mean, if you try to remember from a place that you were somewhere, not in your place, but you go somewhere else, and the things that comes to your mind, maybe these are the patterns that makes the place, the essence of the place. So I wrote it down, and it was very clear to me what I'm going to show in terms of memories. But you see, the difficult task in the film was how to connect these very down-to-earth memories to an abstract insights. I mean, I'm talking about patterns and all of these things, which is quite abstract, how to connect these two words together. This was actually the most difficult thing, to do, to connect the two. But so I think that, now when I design a place, it's all mixed up. I mean, it's the lesson I had when I was a child, but it's obviously the lesson also, I had along, along the years. And the only difference is that now I'm more conscious. I can explain, you know, I can really explain in details what I did, why I did, and all of this, you know, which maybe before it would come intuitively. But also the intuition, I must say, intuition is, I think it's the most scientific tool, because intuition versus analytical process embodies everything. You know, the intuition really embodies everything, what you learn, what is right. I mean, so if you use your intuition, I think this is a very right tool to use in a design. It's not a arbitrary tool. No, you know, it's even when I go to the site, okay, the way I showed in the film, and I want to listen to the voices of the site, you know, the landscape, the light, the view, all of these things. Intuitively, you know, you really feel which is the place to put the window. But it's not a process of analyzing, yeah, because this is there and this. No, I mean, intuitively you say, where would I want to sit with, you know, to put the bench on the side, you know, and you put it on the right place, because the right place is really a whole of many details. It is the view and the sun and the, I don't know, and the trees and the whatever, which makes you feel this is the place I would like to sit. And it's by the intuition, you know. So I think, yeah, that's in a way my answer to your question.
Yeah, and to add to that question, what I really observed and found fascinating was your memories were connected to the space, yes, but also time in a very grounded way. Like the way you put them together was according to the Jewish calendar. In so many ways, the festivals, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, and also the way it connected to your memories of your grandmom taking break on that one day to make dinner and closing the restaurant on that very particular day. I think it was on Yom Kippur.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
And so that way, when you said that it was challenging to sort of put it together, put your memories together as a film for, you know, a third person to watch and experience as a continuous or a holistic experience, it was amazing because what you did or what I thought you were doing intentionally was connected to a culture which is more community based, and people around the world have heard about these festivals and they're aware of it. So I was intuitively connecting the festivals to your memories in time, and the film gave me the space for it, the space for your the festivals to unfold and your memory as a child, and also as Monica mentioned, the little girl, which was you as a child carrying things and walking down the alley. There was also a very different approach to her carrying things from time to time. Uh, One of the remarkable things was the way she carried carrot juice for the aunt. That was very nice because she was so careful, and there are so many steps, and that sort of also spoke to the texture of the pathways and the alleys itself, because you were able to sort of bring out the experience of walking in that alley through different items that the girl was holding, which I found really amazing. So if you could comment on that and what you were thinking, that would be really nice.
Yeah, I'm very happy that we got it this way. I think it's very nice. But you see, well, in a film, you need you need a timeline. And actually, you see, as a child, you know, I didn't live in Sfat. I lived in another city. You know, I was the first generation not to be born in Sfat, and we lived in another city. And the time where I came to my grandmother to the hotel was in the holidays and in the summer. So it was obvious to me that I will have to connect, you know, I mean, the timeline will be all these holidays, and you know, that because the core, the anchor of the film was really Tzfat. Okay, so when did I come there? I did come on the holidays. And then many memories were directly connected to the holidays because it's part of the rituals and stuff like that. Okay, I mean, even the apples you eat in Rosh Hashanah, you know, in the New Year, because you put it with honey to, you know, to symbolizes, you know, a good year or whatever, and all of this. So this was easy. I mean, where to connect all my memories, where to. Of course, it came out from the times the specific times, but then you see, there were many things like the carrot juice or like many other things that I could put anywhere. I could put it in Rosh Hashanah, I could put it in Sukkot, because it's not really related to a specific. So I had to decide, you know, where to put it. And then, as I said, the most difficult thing was where to connect the associations of my present, you know, point of view or my interpretation to all of these experiences. But so this was the decisions I had to make, because you see, for instance, if I talk about the thing that, you know, the whole is made of details, you know, like I showed, you know, the auditorium which I designed. I mean, it's a whole building, but that you know, the details actually makes the whole, and the details are not just ornaments, but it's part of a whole organic system and all of this. So, okay. So then I thought that, you know, the place to, or the memory to associate it with was the way that she used to make the rolls, you know, the Shabbat rolls, you know, the rolls, yeah. If, and actually, even then I showed how the embryos developed, because the idea is both in architecture and both in the way that she made the roll, you know, from the pastry and also the embryo. At that issue, I wanted to mention that a process, it's not a process of additions, but a process of differentiation, that virtually all the details are already there. You know, it's like a, you know, in a sculpture, you have a piece of stone, and then you actually take out things, and then you get, you know, the figure. But it's like the figure was there, you just had to carve and take it. It's like in the rolls, you know, it's like in a space in architecture. It's not that you add things, you know, it's not like interior designer comes, well, unfortunately it is, but today, but you know, and just put, you know, the chairs and the all of these things, you know, after the building is done. But actually you have to see how the details are born from the space, enhance it, you know, naturally comes from it and enhance it to a whole. So so this was the process. I mean, if you ask me about, you know, how yeah, but the the first thing was the timeline, yeah, and I think it was very I'm happy that I had this you know, decision, you know, to put the timeline, the times where the girl came to Tzfat. So it started like this, and then, oh, it was, you know, 7 years I worked on the film.
Lovely.
It was 7 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
and the architect in you just comes out every time you enter a new space, the sketch. And that was a very nice personal touch, but I guess architects around the world would definitely resonate with that way of representing a certain space, which is through a simple line drawing sketch and putting the key element of, well, a tree. A tree was always there, wasn't it, in your sketches? So just to anchor the space. It was lovely.
and in the courtyard itself, right?
Thank you very much. I'm very happy that that you enjoyed it, and yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I realize, as I screen the film, in many places around the world with different people, not only architects at all, and each person, get connected to another level in the film, to another thing. One is, when I was in India, so a guy came to me and said, wow, it reminds me my grandmother in the village that, I used to go near Mumbai and and all of these things. And I think it's very nice. I mean, that people got connected, and I think this maybe proves the idea that there are things which are really common to all of us as human beings, which is one of the things I'm talking about. But it proved. I mean, because really the reactions I get on the film, and you can see it in the reviews. I put them from all over the world. Very similar, I mean, they get the film in quite a similar way, and because people are people. So yeah.
I have a question, Nili. So talking about differentiation, how can you connect then versus now, the experience of visiting Safat without your grandparents now versus in the past when the small character of another version of yourself visits Safat? And also another connection would be, how do you feel when you visit India versus Israel?
Yeah, well, today I must say I still have a family there. Of course, my grandmother died. The hotel is not ours anymore, and it changed, and it's very depressing for me actually, because and memories, but when I get there, I don't find what I have in my mind at all. It's many people find it like this with their roots of places they grew up, because also the city changed a lot to the worse. The demography changed, everything changed. So I have a family there and I go there, but I can't compare. I mean, it's really more in my mind now, everything. I mean, when I go there, it's like I'm looking through the eyeglasses, of the past, but it's not anymore. And I'm in a conflict, I must say, because on one hand, I always want to go there, but the only place I can be connected to is going to the graveyard, to the family that I'm talking about in the film. These are the people that connected me also to the place, and so this is one thing. And then the other, please repeat, what did you say about India and Sfat? Sorry.
Your feeling, how do you feel, if you can make a comparison when you visit India, because you say you love the experience versus Israel?
Well, I think the places that I were in India, and obviously it's also connected to the people that that I met in India. Well, I really feel that it's a very human place. This is really the most. If you want me to tell you, 2 words why, and of course, there's so many problems there, and poverty, but there is something so basic and so human there, and well, I tell you, I'm more engaged with the Tibetans than the Indian. I mean, I had also chance to meet many Indians, of course, and when I was in Delhi, and where when I was screening my film, but most of the people that even now I'm still connected, is more Tibetan, and think they are really amazing people. But I don't know, I walk in the streets, even, in Mumbai or in Delhi or in Dharamsala. I really feel at home. I don't know, really. And I think that I don't know. I really don't know absolutely where, if it comes from the context, from, from the people, or from the place, because I'm not talking about the monumental stuff and all of these things. Okay, I mean, let's forget about that. I'm talking about, going in the market or going, I don't know.
Can you give us an example then of a memory that you cherish?
Yeah, and just to add to that question, you mentioned that even Safat has changed quite a bit in the sense that the restaurant or the hotel is not in your family anymore, and your family, unfortunately, is not there. A part of it is, but also the demographics are changing. So, if you could give us an example of all of this put together, like levels of social units and how they change and how that may impact the experience of a place.
Well, obviously it means, on one hand, in one hand, I think it's also right that the place has a feeling with no relation to people, on one hand, because, if you go, for instance, I don't know if you've been in Venice, for instance, you go at night, 12 o'clock at night, in Venice or any place, and there are no people. The streets are empty. The piazzas, the squares are completely empty, no people at all. But there is, you really, there is some, I would say, feeling, that the places has a soul. There is really a very good feeling in the place, although it's nothing to do with the people. It's really to do with the place, with the patterns of the space, okay? And there are places where are very, very busy. You go to a shopping mall, all these shopping malls, and all these places, and there are millions of people, but the place feels dead. Because the environment, the physical environment, really doesn't give you any, sort of really good, pleasant, emotional experience. So this is one thing, and but on the other hand, it's also right. I don't know how to really to see the difference, but it's also right that I'll tell you, when I was in Dharamsala, I stayed in a hotel which belongs to the Tibetan government in exile. It's a very, Norblinka, it's very, very special place. It's a place that, all the walls and everything were done by Tibetan artists, Tanga paintings, and very, very artful hotel, very, very nice, and beautiful view, and just opposite the temple of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And this is one of the places really that, I really wanted to go there again and again. And I went there again and again, and I stayed there. It's the place and it's the people also, I must say. I don't know if I answered your question. You see, in Sfat, the demography changed a lot. It became a very religious place. And the whole feeling is, very, very Orthodox Jews, which, it's not my, before, when I was a child, or not even a child, say 20 years ago, it was a very pluralistic place. There were religious people, but there were secular people, There were artists, a lot of artists came there. They had houses and they painted, and and it was like this. And there was a real harmony between all these people, and it was really, really nice. And everybody found a place, in this. Now you feel that really it was overconquered by a certain kind of society, which I personally don't belong to. And their priorities are different. And also these generations that I was really connected to are not there anymore. And I think, the whole activity in the place changed a lot because they are not interested in anything. I mean, any cultural, the whole way of, of life changed there. So I really, I feel very sad when I come there, and I really, I don't feel, but I'm very proud, and I'm very happy, and I feel very lucky to have roots in this place. But to say that today it's what I have in mind, no. So it's unfortunate, but and I don't know. Yeah, well. So yeah, that's the way I can answer. I don't know if I have any other answer.
Perhaps it's the circle of life, and the fact that the character of Safat as a city comes through, and hopefully the society that you ascribe the city to have, perhaps it will roll over again in time, because as the film speaks about it, and as the festival is trying to say, our cities and our places are a person-space continuum, and where there is such beauty, such patterns of human space interactions, human place interactions, they will always flourish in one way or another. And hopefully you'll be able to go back to the Safat that you knew.
Yeah, well. You're so welcome. I'm really, I would really like, to have you all here, and I would really like to to come to your place once we can, and hopefully it will be in the near future, not too far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do feel that your initiative is very important, and I really appreciate it a lot. I think it's because at the end of the day, it's really education. I mean, you have to start educate people maybe,
Yes.
from when they are young, but so they're aware,
Yeah.
what kind of environment you want, how you want to live. And it's really, and the more people will talk about it and educate it in schools of architecture, which unfortunately, when I was teaching, I didn't find, many teachers. And also when I was studying, it was, the sort of postmodern architecture and all of these things, which will not bring us very far. And so I think your initiative is really very, very important. Very, I appreciate it a lot. And I'm very happy that,
Yes.
I got to know your center, really.
Thank you so much, Nili. As we wrap up, I just want to thank you for joining us today, and we are really happy to have watched your film, and also for our community to watch this film. We are really going to, send across some questions if they have, and we really appreciate it. Yeah.
Keep in contact. I mean,
Yes.
you can give my email to anyone who wants to discuss anything. And if they want, to see the film, I can always give them a link, stuff like, I mean, we can really go on and be in contact.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you so much. And please visit India and, visit me in Bangalore, and I will if I come to Israel as well.
Yeah. Have you been in Israel?
No, I haven't.
Aishwarya, have you been?
I was supposed to be last year and this year, but the pandemic and I think different situations have gotten in the way.
Before you haven't been here? Never?
No, never. But I've been listening to so much of Israeli music. So, and I find the connection with Israel coming through, at least through music, and now your film. It's really
I
nice.
don't know why I thought that you were in Tel Aviv before. I see. Okay, so it's about time.
It's about time.
Let's hope that reality will, be different and we can
Yeah.
all meet. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nili.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and have a nice festival for the coming days.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.